Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, and this is the review of Skinwalker Ranch Season 5, Episode 4. And I liked it, and some interesting things and some hokey things, but I'm going to call them the way I see them, and away we go. They start off with Ben Woodruff, from the wildlife biologist from the Hutchings Museum Institute there in Utah. And they were going to review the finds of what they had in the creek the week before. There was one, they had an olive wood tree that had burn marks on it. And Ben explained that something I'm still a little leery on, but I don't understand it. Doesn't mean it's not true. He said that the burn marks were caused by a non-combustion fire with no oxygen. Strange type of fire caused it. That's what he thought. Now they're in the command post, and they were talking about, and they're watching Ben, and they took that jaw sample from the canine. This is just me. If you've watched my 3 documentaries, I'm very cautious about what I say. If I can't prove it, I don't say it. In this instant, they said it and they can't prove it. What it was is that Ben says the dire wolf was extinct 10,000 years ago. And then the crew at the ranch said that the Sherman family saw a dire wolf attack their animals on the ranch. And that was in this book. Then Ben went on and he showed a series of jaws from coyotes, wolves, and it showed essentially the bone mass between where the teeth are on the jaw and the bottom of the jawline. How thick that was. Coyotes, it was pretty thin. Wolves got bigger. Dire wolves got really big. And then they showed this jawline from the sample that they took in the creek, and it was thick. And they said it was like a dire wolf. So I'm saying, I wouldn't have said that unless I had those DNA results. Now what bugs me about this is that they got those samples months ago. And then they put this film together, they put this segment together within the last month or two. So they purposely put this together like this to make it work. When they did the editing on this one, they had the results on the DNA. So 2 things. They're dragging this on to fill time, that's number 1. And number 2, they're stringing us along. I don't like it. And then a guy who's been here before named John Frank, he was a ground penetrating radar expert, and he said that he brought along some new equipment that could actually go deeper with more refined definition. And the team there said, well, there's possible metal tunnel under that triangle area. And he was going to walk a grid pattern up and down through the triangle, dragging his machine. What's interesting about the machine is not only penetrates under, but it also goes up at the same time. And these signals above and below, they were interested in them because whenever they did work out in this area, strange things would happen in the air as well. Now, at the same time, while Jan is doing this work around the triangle area, Thomas, Dragon, and Travis are going to go to the east field and shoot some rockets up in the air. These guys like rockets. Who in the male world doesn't like a rocket, right? So, hold on one second. Just got to fix some electricity before we lose any. There we go. We're back. We're not going to lose electricity. So, yeah, I had the tripod out in the woods with me a while ago. So they go to the east field. They have GPS on the rockets. And the first GPS shot, typical rocket, goes straight up in the air 2,000 feet. Now Eric's in the command center monitoring the GPS results. And Eric says that the GPS shows it going up just a little bit, like maybe 50 feet, then doing almost like a corkscrew and going sideways. That's not what it did. Everyone could see it went straight up. Simultaneously, Jan, 5 to 10 seconds after the rocket is launched, he records a weird reaction with his data. Something above the triangle area. So Travis launches a second rocket to see if it would replicate the results on the GPS. And the second rocket, again, goes up 2,000 feet, does a corkscrew, goes sideways, and according to GPS, 2 times the GPS didn't react as it should. Straight up. Jan says 4 to 5 seconds after that launch, he could see an anomaly 30 to 40 feet down in the triangle. Now this would correlate to data that they've had before, that there's something in that ground right there. And in the images he had, it didn't really look like anything specific, other than in one picture it was kind of wide, and another one it was long and thin. But you could definitely see that there was something solid down there. That's one reason why I love ground penetrating radar. It shows you so much without having to dig. Now the next morning they go back to the command post and they do a review of what I just told you. First rocket went 2,000 feet, showed it kind of went into the mesa. Last year, that same area in the mesa where the rocket supposedly turned is the same place called the endpoint, where they saw a UFO flying into the mesa and then coming out of the mesa later on. That was filmed from the helicopter last year. Now, while this is going on, Jan picks up something 40 feet up in the air, 40 feet above the ground, and it created some type of interference for him. The rocket launch was 1 mile from where Jan was doing the ground penetrating radar. Now, Eric has a high-speed camera in the east field looking at the triangle area. And as the rockets are going up and Jan's doing his work in the field, camera over here is pointed to where the triangle work's being done. But it's up, it's pointing in the air. Eric says, guys, look at this. And up in kind of a gray sky, you see an image of a classic, to me it looked like a round UFO, saucer kind. And in a normal camera, it would never be seen because it was only seen in 5 frames of a high-speed camera. Now, if you remember earlier this year, I said that that entire area should be covered with high-speed cameras because the number of anomalies flying through there could be countless. But while they're doing this work, they pick up this object coming through. And then this is the part that's pretty weird. They've, in the past, recorded this anomaly in the air over the triangle area. Travis has made some insinuations it could be a black hole, blah, blah, blah. It's something really odd that you can't see with the naked eye above this triangle. This thing flying through 5 frames disappears totally when it flies over that black hole above the triangle. That's powerful, friends. That's all I can say. That's powerful. Because if it is a traversable wormhole, that's where that object went. Gone. Can't see it anymore. Now, in science, the guys talked about this. You have to replicate something to prove its existence. And it's just not a unique anomaly. Well, when they shot the rockets in the air twice, they had GPS go wacky twice. When they were in the creek last week, the GPS went wacky. Showed them they were like 50 feet underground when they weren't underground at all. They were in a creek. So Jan goes on, and he was doing subsurface scans for voids and tunnels. So he got some interference different from that in the ground. His interference was different from the surrounding ground. So there was an anomaly there. Jan's observations confirmed past observations that there's something there. And then Caleb said something, I think he slipped, but they let it in. As they're all sitting around the table, one of the last things before they went to commercial, Caleb goes, yeah, that's in the same area where people have told us that there's a base here. And then they went away. A base of what? UFO base? I don't know. But this is in the same area that Bruce Maccabee told me that he felt that there was a giant underground antenna. And I want to say something right here. This last Sunday, I heard that Bruce died. Bruce was one of the most brilliant people I have ever had the opportunity to hang with. When we made Missing 411 The Hunted, I spent several days at his house with his wife, Jan. They were both so hospitable, so nice. And I know Bruce probably thought myself and my crew weren't that intelligent because we asked a lot of wacky questions of him. But I knew I was around someone who was a genius. I knew Bruce had been around the UFO scene 40 years. He knew everything historical about MUFON, about UFOs. I asked him a ton of questions. I'm sure he got bored, but he never acted it. He was engaged, fun. I was so sad to hear he died. Jan, if you're watching, my prayers are with you. So they did the rockets. They get the wacky GPS results. They talk about what they're going to do. And then they talk about the confirming data they got below the triangle. They need to drill. I've said that all along. They need to dig. And I don't mean just with a shovel. I mean they need to get some cat dozers out there and dig that thing up. Now, why they aren't doing that, I have no idea. And I will tell you this, that in this book, they talk about the owners of the ranch prior had something written in their deed that they couldn't dig on the ranch. It was never made clear why, but it was in the deed, supposedly. And every time they've tried to dig in the past, bad stuff has happened. So they get out a company that's been there before, Jeremy Snowshoe Engineering, and they're going to drill for core samples just west of the triangle. They were again going to use a high-speed camera up above the drill. They said it could go down 30 to 40 feet. And they would keep drilling until they hit that object, or 40 feet. Now, they were drilling, they showed them drilling, and after, 20 feet, they stopped and they said, yeah, we're hitting something hard. Harder than we had in the past. So they pulled out a core sample and they laid it on the table. They opened up the core sample, and it just looked like a cylindrical piece of mud about 2 inches in diameter. And at the end, there was a void. And Eric said, oh, well, we hit a void. Yeah. But why is it there? So then they get out their meters and they test it for radiation. Nothing. So Eric talks to the guys and they said, hey, what do you think? We just keep going? Yep, let's keep going. Now, as the team is off to the side kind of talking, apparently they had the two drillers mic'd up. And the conversation between them is, oh, so you have a metallic taste in your mouth? Yeah. Oh, how long has that been going on? Well, it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Anyhow, the crew hears about this, and Thomas reacted. Thomas stated, and that was when the drill was at about 30 feet. Thomas pulled the driller aside, and on camera he said, in the past, when I've had or somebody else has had that metallic taste in their mouth, bad stuff happens right away. So we need to get you off the property now. All right? And they said it comes associated with being exposed to a high magnetic field. The driller's name was Brady. They got him off the ranch. Travis went back to the drill site and he got out a bunch of meters, started testing it. Eric comes over, he's looking around, then all of a sudden, a few minutes later, Eric goes, oh, I've got that metallic taste in my mouth now too. Caleb says, boom, one of the other security guards, you're off the ranch. They put him in a car and he's gone. If you remember, Thomas, during one of the first seasons at the ranch, when they were just playing with digging in the ground, he got a huge bump in the back of his head, went to the hospital, and on x-rays it looks really strange, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was causing it. So serious stuff has happened, and Travis has had like radiation marks on him before. So there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, and a lot of it is associated with drilling. So that leaves Travis, a couple of security guards, and Thomas hanging around this drill. And the drill team left, except the drill owner. He comes over and he's talking to the guys, and he said, yeah, we're not going to be able to do anything until tomorrow. And one of the guys goes, well, why not? And he says, well, the only one authorized to use the drill is Brady, and he's gone. And they all said, well, isn't that interesting? That the one guy that can keep the operation going is the one guy who was affected. It's almost like a directed attack. That was their thought. They used Brady, and they said he was the critical link that just got removed. And Eric is really the one that's monitoring all of the computer images and data control, and he got attacked. So there's a couple minutes where they're just talking about things that are happening and what's going on. And then Travis and Thomas are over by the drill. And Travis is leaning on the ground, trying to see if they're picking up any signs of radiation or any kind of unusual readings that he could pick up. And it almost appeared like Thomas leaned on the drill bit going in the ground. And he kind of jumps back and he goes, whoa. Because I just felt that in my foot. Travis looks at him and goes, well, what's up? So he puts his hand on the pipe, and it's like electric, not the pipe, the drill pipe. And he says, it feels like it's electrically charged. Thomas goes, is that normal? He goes, no, it's not normal. Unless we drilled into something. And so they went back, and they got an electrical meter. And the meter showed that there was a 0.5 volt charge coming off the drill pipe that's going into the ground. And Travis reiterates, that's impossible unless we drilled into something that has an electrical charge. But they could both feel it. And now they had the validation of the meter. So really the question comes down to, is this a reaction from the entity to the team drilling in the ground? Or is this a reaction from the drill bit hitting something that is electrically charged in some way? Let me go back to Bruce, God rest your soul's theory that it's an antenna that's emitting. If it is, and it's emitting, then maybe it's charged. And maybe they hit the outer perimeter of that antenna at a lower ground level. I have no idea. I'm just thinking outside the box. Now, there's been things that they found in the ground in the past that indicated an unusual nature to the minerals in the ground. Highly unusual. Now, how long had that drill bit been drilling and picking up an electrical charge? That's another $1 million question. We don't know because nobody went over there with a meter to check it until people started to become affected. Now, Travis and Thomas in this segment didn't state that they were affected at all. It only seemed as though Eric and Brady, the drill manager, were the ones affected. Now, next week, they didn't clarify if they're going to keep drilling. And they go back to trying to understand what's that above them where they're drilling, above the triangle area. I like what they're doing. I like it a lot. I'd like them to, I think it'd be great if at the beginning or at the end of each episode that they took a couple viewer questions. Somebody said, well, Dave, wouldn't it be kind of cool if they brought one of these giant magnets that you see at the wrecking yard that picks up old cars and moves them? One of those big giant round things with a crane. And what if they put that magnet right over the triangle and turned it on? What would happen? Brilliant. Brilliant idea. All heck may break loose, but I love the idea. The visual for TV would be outstanding. How they'd get it there, I have no idea. Or how far it'd have to go, I have no idea. But I like it. And the other thing is, I think bring in 3 or 4 big cat dozers and just start tearing up that triangle. But I honestly think that they're somewhat afraid of what it may do. I don't mean hurting people. I mean, it may just shut down. It may be the end of Skinwalker Ranch. Who knows? Maybe they really don't want to do that. I do have a huge announcement that the next segment I review, I'm going to let it go. But you guys are going to be shocked. And no, I wasn't invited to the ranch. But it's big. And it is related to Skinwalker Ranch, though. So I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you like the review. Please share this on your social media. Please, please. Thank you. In the meantime, be kind. Paulides out.